part 3 in talking about the New York Rangers and the Washington Capitals. Actually, mostly just the Capitals because the Rangers weren't really the main meat and potatoes of that yesterday Kuznetsov trade video. But I just wanted to get some thoughts on the entire situation, how gross it is that the NHL allowed something like this to happen. Because yesterday's game between the Rangers and the Capitals was part 2 of this entire madness that we had been seeing over the past few days, which has seen Artemi Panarin literally be inches away from, like, sudden whatever, fill in the blanks over there. Tom Wilson getting off scot-free, and the New York Rangers doing a whole bunch of other stuff to voice their opinions about that. So, in yesterday's video, we did briefly discuss the fact that Tom Wilson only got a $5,000 fine because he punched Buchnevich while he was down, not because of anything that he did with Panarin or whatever. That was completely scot-free. The New York Rangers made themselves a post on social media talking about how they really felt like George Parros and the NHL Department of Player Safety screwed up because they were avoiding their duty in keeping the league safe because, hey, it's the Department of Player Safety. What are you doing going out there allowing a guy like Tom Wilson to not get suspended for almost essentially brutally fill in the blanks again with Artemi Panarin? That statement that they made where they called out the NHL and George Parros was met with very wide critical acclaim from a whole bunch of fans around the NHL except for Capitals fans, the ones who told them to suck it up because Tom Wilson is living rent-free in your heads. We're not going to get into that debate here. We already spoke about that 2 videos ago. But the story gets even weirder because yesterday we had ourselves some huge news that the New York Rangers ended up firing both their president and their general manager. It's Jeff Gorton who is gone, the guy who had been doing a pretty good job helping the Rangers rebuild. It's only been like 3 years. And, I mean, they have Adam Fox. They had themselves 2 very lucky draft lottery wins. They got Artemi Panarin, and now they're in a spot where, as one of the youngest teams in the NHL, oh, apparently it's not enough. Huh. Okay, then. The reason I say that is because Darren Dreger came out immediately and he said this: I'm told the firing of Gordon and Davidson by the Rangers is coincidental, and it's not related to the big statement, the big screw George Parros and screw the NHL statement that the Rangers issued yesterday. Another source says ownership felt the Rangers underachieved this year. Again, they're one of the youngest teams in the league. Adam Fox is like Norris caliber, and you still have the best days ahead. I don't know what this means where they say, oh, they underachieved. What did you want? Ownership of the New York Rangers? What would you have wanted to see out of this team? You couldn't have really expected them to be a legit contender. But regardless, the firing happened. A lot of people thought that this Darren Dreger tweet was really fishy. If this were about underachieving, why not fire them after the season, you know, in like a week? As said by Dan Murphy. Love that guy. Greg Wyshynski also said this, that he spoke to a source that doesn't believe that they got fired because of performance-related issues. Some people are going out there, and I'm just going to say this right here, this is just rumor, hearsay, don't really know if this is true or not, that potentially maybe they wanted to distance themselves from the statement that they made. Here's a quote from Jeff Fayette. All reports suggest that Davidson and Gordon were trying to distance themselves from the statement, not that they were punished for making it. If there's a pro-appeal to authority message to be taken from this in Vancouver, it's that the owner has final say. And who knows if the Rangers GM and president didn't really align with the statement they made, which is why they got fired. If it really is because of performance-based issues, my question is, what exactly were the expectations you had that weren't fulfilled? Because, I mean, the Rangers, they achieved pretty much what I thought they would be able to achieve this year, and there's so much hope for the future with Artemi Panarin and all the other guys there, so not really too sure what's going about there. Now, let's get into the actual game, because yesterday against the Washington Capitals, they played the Artemi Panarin Redemption Tour, and this was an absolute terrible hockey game if you're a guy who goes out there and watches hockey games to watch hockey. If you're going out there looking for entertainment, you're looking for fights, then hey, you love this game. But if you were going out there looking for slick dekes and cool goals, hey, you did not get that here, because this game had itself 139 penalty minutes. You had 6 fights in the first 4 minutes of the game, with 3 fights happening on puck drop. This is the kind of environment that the NHL Department of Player Safety cultivated because they did not take action as to what was clearly an extraordinarily dangerous and somewhat animalistic loss of control on behalf of Tom Wilson. The fact that there was no suspension here, the fact that the NHL went out there and pretty much said that what Wilson did to Panarin was okay, it made all tensions boil for this game right here. You had Carl Hagelin against Blackwell, Kevin Rooney against Nick Dowd, and Garnett Hathaway against DiGiuseppe in the first second of the game. You also then had Brendan Smith against Tom Wilson about a minute later, with Brendan Smith getting the instigator penalty. Eventually, you had Ryan Strome against Eller. Interesting one right there. Didn't really see a matchup between those two ever going down in my mind. And then you had Boteto against Michael Raffl. And then things get a little bit crazy as well. You have more misconducts. You have Tom Wilson against Kevin Rooney. Both of those guys get misconducts. Tom Wilson eventually leaves the game because the guy's apparently battling an injury. And then you have the Pavel Buchnevich Anthony Mantha thing, which is oh so crazy to think about too. In this shift, Anthony Mantha is kind of chopping at Buchnevich the entire time while they're in the offensive zone. He's kind of going at the back of his shins, and he's kind of following the guy around, kind of just bugging him. Then when the play goes back up ice, Anthony Mantha turns around, and instead of going and following the direction of the play, he goes back over to Buchnevich, the guy that he was kind of annoying a few seconds ago. Buchnevich sees this, he comes over to Mantha, and he cross-checks him high up in the face. Boom, baby! That one was really kind of ugly there. Probably deserves a suspension, if I'm gonna be honest here. Yeah, I love Buchnevich, I love Mantha too, but seriously, that was a very violent hit as well. He gets the game misconduct for that one, and eventually we have a whole bunch of other stuff happen as well. Ryan Strome and Chara get misconducts too, 139 total penalty minutes here, and this is kind of the thing where it's like, yeah, this only happened because the Department of Player Safety didn't do their job. You have games like these where the Rangers are trying to make a statement. They're trying to fight not just the Washington Capitals on the scoreboard, they lost by the way, but they're fighting all authority. They're saying this is the league we play in, screw you guys. That POS, Tom Wilson, that was over there almost pulling Panarin's hair out, is still playing. We need to get back at these guys because the Department of Player Safety and George Parros won't. And now we have a game that maybe will result in Buchnevich probably getting suspended. And if you think about it, it's like, wow, kind of crazy how Buchnevich can get suspended for this, and Tom Wilson doesn't get suspended for what he did, which Matt Cook, of all people, said was a dangerous loss of control. John Scott said the same thing. These were NHL enforcers who play the game with an edge, saying that what Tom Wilson did was out of bounds. You know, if there's anybody going out there who's got the right to talk about what's allowed, what's good-natured in the game, and what's not, especially when it comes to body checking and physicality, I would probably say John Scott's qualified to talk about that. So leave it to the Department of Player Safety to go out there and maybe do something against Buchnevich, but not Wilson. By the way, just quick disclaimer, I'm recording this video, it's 10:07 p.m., Wednesday, May 5th, so by the time this video is uploaded, I'm still going to decide when we're going to upload. I have no idea, by the way. We'll see what happens with Buchnevich, with the suspensions, if there's a fine for the Rangers or whatever. Kind of funny how the Rangers, if they get fined, it's probably going to be a bigger fine than what Tom Wilson had to get because of his thing against Panarin, right? Kind of crazy how the scales work here with the NHL and their entire rulings and the consistencies with the Department of Player Safety and all that. So yeah, that's the game. That was the situation with the firing yesterday. It was really weird. All this drama packed into the last, week and a half of NHL hockey for the 2021 season. I absolutely cannot believe what we have been seeing here. But talk to me in the comments what you think about the Rangers, the Capitals, the game, the penalties, the suspensions, the fines, and all that. What happens and what didn't happen. Before we go, though, I wanted to say the only good thing about this hockey game was TJ Oshie getting himself a hat trick in his first game after his father's unfortunate passing. Even the Rangers, they congratulated Oshie on that one because, hey, at the end of the day, family comes before all this, and you can see on the ice, the body language, all the support that Oshie was given from his teammates, and the fact that he was even tearing up on the bench as well. Very emotional moment for sure, and that was probably the only highlight, seeing that man, whom we spoke about yesterday in that Kuznetsov video, get 3 goals after coming back in a game that was just filled with so much anger surrounding that entire situation. So talk to me in the comments what you thought about this game, the situation, the firings, etc. We said that already. I hope you enjoyed this. And bye.